is Whitney Ensom.
And I'm Alia Bogdanoff.
And our episode today is called the one where we talk about authenticity. So we're really excited that you all are listening. We've had some great feedback from people. We've had people listening. We can see it on YouTube, and we're just really excited.
Yeah, I think that I was obsessed for about a week about how many people were viewing our video. I think my husband, can't tell you how many times he was like, "Hello, are you listening to me?" And I'm like, babe, we just hit 100 views. And he was like, "That's wonderful. Please take care of the children. They're crying."
I love it. It's so cool to see people listening, and it makes us excited to do it because we could just talk to ourselves, to each other, which would be great because this is what we're doing. We have these conversations, but it's fun to share things with other people.
And I think that the thing that Whitney and I were most touched by was the response of others, people saying like, wow, this is not just like, this is cool, but this is real, and this is the kind of conversations that I love. And I think all of us, when we walk away from a really good conversation that's meaningful and does something to change our lives, I don't know, I walk away with like a fullness. And we had one friend who shared that she actually really learned from our talk and was able to have a confrontation with a friendship. And that was like the world to us. We were like, oh my gosh, we taught someone something. It's so cool.
We're using our realness to help people because that's something we all deal with, is like what to do with friendships when they go sour. Right. So I'm really happy to hear people benefiting from our realness about how hard friendship can be.
Can we talk
how we broke up?
Can we talk about really quick how last week we were recording with my phone over a table, and this week I have a mic and a boom, and now Whitney and I are what, like 6 inches from each other. So it feels like her and I are having the most private conversation. Like we're whispering.
We're staring into each other's eyes. Our legs are very close. Like
this is a very intimate time for you guys to be in on this conversation with us because we are so close right now. And it's all for sound quality. I promise it's all to benefit you and the way you experience this episode. We will hopefully someday have 2 mics, but right now we're edging it.
Rocking it with one. We will continue to be very close. So let's just start off with what does authenticity mean to us?
Are you asking me?
I am asking. I'm staring at you.
I'm the only one in the room. So this is really interesting because I think that authenticity changes a lot through our years. You know, when you're younger, it's all about protecting who you are. It's all about appearing cool. I remember wanting to be cool, not knowing what was cool, seeing other people being cool, and then just copying them. And it has absolutely nothing to do about showing your real self. And actually, that is the most dangerous and dumb thing you can do when you're young, right? In your head is like, actually let people know who I am. So you go through high school and you go through these college ages where you just hide and hope to the Lord Almighty in heaven that nobody finds out what you're really thinking and feeling. And you might have a couple friends who, you know, you share that with, but for the most part, you're not really living it. And there comes a point in life where things happen and all that comes down, and you're left with a choice of whether or not to be authentic and to share.
When do you feel like that happened for you?
Because
you're talking about...
Are we jumping there?
Are we jumping there? We don't have to jump there.
Let's touch, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Oh,
stop.
No, it's fine. We're rolling with it. Okay. I love it. This is authentic.
So real. We're like, we have thoughts and feelings to happen throughout this, and we're just gonna roll with it.
Oh, you know what though?
What?
We're gonna back up a little. I really want to talk about you and I being authentic. We talked about our last recording and whether we had a really good conversation afterwards. We called each other after and like, hey, how did you feel about that? This is live. Like, people are actually listening. Like, it's more than 10 people right now that are like listening to us. And, you know, we had this really nice like analyzing ourselves and each other. And I shared that I'm really good at talking about my faults, but it's very planned for me. And it's not authentic unless I really, really make myself go there. Most of the time, I'm like, I'm going to share A, B, and C, and they seem really intense, but they're not intense for me because I've already told myself I'm not going to go there. So this episode is really about pushing that edge for me to say, let's share something that's uncomfortable that you don't want people to know, and be a little brave.
Yep.
But what about you, Whitney? What was the last episode like for you, and what did you come with afterwards? What was a realization you had?
I think just I like to have answers about things, and I'm really good at like sounding like I know things, because usually I know things because I know things. Mm-hmm. But you were sharing things about like how you would come to like get-togethers with our mutual friends, and you'd be like preparing in your mind, like, what am I going to say? How do I hug her? Do I not? And I didn't say that I did the same thing. Mm-hmm. I was like, what do I do? I'm an overthinker. Moment of authenticity. Anybody that knows me knows this. I'm a recovering perfectionist. Mm. So to hear you was like, whoa, I totally relate. But I think to say that was, I don't know, it was difficult to say because I like seeming put together. But when you shared that with me when we talked on the phone, I realized that was true. Yeah. That I had a lot of trouble with that, and I avoided you for a long time.
You did. It's adorable.
Our friend knows. But I think, I like to plan things too. So I was thinking, how do I act? So that was when you shared that, I realized that's actually true. Yeah. I also think, I love that your son had a bag of potato chips just chilling, and you were super real. And I was like, I am so comfortable. This isn't comfortable for me exactly. Yeah. But I do feel like this is cool because we get to be real about topics that are authentic and real to people in our lives, and other people that we don't know yet. So it was uncomfortable, and it still a little bit is. This is weird to me. But I'm really happy. Yeah. So those are my thoughts.
I think that we're all, and this is how I felt after that first episode, we're all just afraid to be found out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we already know what those things are. Like, we talked a little bit on the phone that, like, I tend to take over when I'm uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I have this, like, great leadership quality that turns into a, like, overwhelming, I just, like, own stuff and I don't ask questions. Mm-hmm. And after we had that episode and I felt like I did that, my biggest fear was that you were going to say, like, hey, you took charge and didn't even ask. Mm-hmm. So instead of just coming to you and being like, hey, I feel really bad that I took charge, I still just, like, sat in my insecurity for a week and was just so afraid that was going to become the thing that became a topic. And it did eventually come up because someone told you that, I took a little charge. But you did such a good job of talking to me, and I felt like the authentic moment for me was when you brought it up, which was very gentle, by the way.
Thank you.
Was that I didn't try to scapegoat it, or I didn't try to push it aside. I said, you're right, I did, and I get that way when I'm nervous, and I want to work on that. And that's an authentic moment.
Yes. That was so amazing of you.
Thank you.
I'm affirming you for that, because that wasn't easy to do.
Because, like, a lot of people, it's like they're scared to stand up. I'm scared to sit down. Like, I'm legitimately scared to be not seen, and to be, scared of what's going to happen if, nobody notices me. So I think the first question that we can have here is, who do we be authentic with?
That's a good question. So I think that what I've learned the last few years is certain people in my life know certain things, and that's okay, because that's good boundaries, I guess. So I think we can be authentic with the people that let us be authentic and who are authentic with us. So it's a two-sided kind of thing, that if we trust them, trust is, for me, it's built over time. So I'm very cautious about who I'm authentic with. So I think it's just, it's hard to know sometimes how we're going to feel about being authentic, and we kind of see how it goes. We're like, okay, I've shared this much. Maybe I can share a little more. So, I don't know. I think it depends on the person. It depends on your level of comfortability. That's how I feel at this point.
I feel like it's the responses. Like, I feel like I put out feelers. Like, I'll say, when I talk about my past, that's the hardest thing for me. Yes. When I talk about some of my past abuse, which people who know me know what that is in my life. People who don't know me that well, it's because I am not ready to share with them. And I probably put out feelers, and said, put out little subject matters to see what they think about those subject matters. And if they don't respond in a way that I feel like, oh, they get it, or this is a topic that they're interested in, they're going to be comfortable with, I stop and I don't share. And then I just wait on that friendship to see, when am I ready to talk about this? I told you, like, in a week, I was at a stage in my life when I met you where it had just happened, and I was in that like authenticity overload where I was just telling my story to everybody and not thinking about it. I was just trying to finally get myself out there. And that's great, but that's not daily life. You're not always in this hyper emotional, something just happened to you and you're just processing it out loud. Sometimes you're living regular life every single day that's kind of boring, and you realize that you've known someone for a while, but you've never even tested trusting them with information about you.
I've had times where I've been super, super, super honest, like even in a group setting. Didn't go over well. I had a vulnerability hangover, as Brene Brown would say. I was like, what did I just do? Because I feel the same way. I feel the same way about my past, and I think it's just, testing the waters. I totally agree with that. And I think it takes time to learn, well, that didn't work. And then, because we want to be known. I want to be known. I want to be known and loved for who I am and to feel worthy. I just... and
the worst feeling you can get is that you share something personal, difficult, and completely revealing, and then you get that silence where people don't know what to say to you. And I feel like what it does to you is it just makes you pull everything back in. Don't share, don't talk about it, because these people are now thinking I'm strange.
Yes.
I used to think not everybody has a hardship growing up like I did. And so because they don't have it, they're going to think I'm coming to the table broken. They're not. They're this beautiful pot all put together, and I'm having to earn it. And that's why I think I act out a lot, is I'm always trying to earn my place instead of realizing that what I've been through doesn't make me less. It makes me, it gives me something to learn from. It gives me a standpoint. So, hey, on the fly. Because
we like on the fly.
Because we like on
you
the fly.
You like on the fly.
I do.
I don't.
You
I
don't.
like everything planned.
I'll answer my question first if you need to do it first. But we'll
Probably.
test the waters.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's share something authentic about ourselves. I know we haven't already shared things. Something that is difficult to share. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
I'll go first, and I'll just give a snippet of part of the things that are hard for me to share. And you're allowed to share whatever you want. It doesn't have to be something intense. It can be something small, but I'm going to share because I can share things and not feel anything. I'm going to share something that makes me feel something. For the sake of this being authentic during this, we need to do an authenticity check.
All right.
At the end of this episode.
Okay. On the fly.
So something that I usually have a really hard time talking about is where I was raised. I was raised in a very charismatic church with my mom. My parents were divorced when I was little. But my mom remarried somebody. Many of you know who that is. And he's my stepdad. And he was very abusive towards me and my mom. And he was mostly emotionally, spiritually abusive. If you don't know what that means, it's controlling people through spirituality, religion. So he would often tell me, like, I wasn't allowed to date. Not because I was too young or inexperienced. I wasn't allowed to date because he was going to choose my husband. It was very cultish in form. And I have this very long time that I was with him. We lived with him for 10 years. So I have a lot that goes into that. And he was a rageaholic as well. So I experienced a lot of emotional trauma through those years. And a lot of the memories I don't remember a lot. It's like I remember everything and I don't remember anything. It's kind of a double fold for me. So what does that mean? It means that I was never open with anybody during that time of my life. I only had a couple friends who really knew what was going on with me. And I got really good at the appearance of good. And I was really good at just making everything look so put together on the outside. So for me, when I meet people, it's like a performance. And I have to tell myself, like, stop performing, stop calculating, stop planning, and just walk this out and be yourself. But when you've been through abuse, and especially when it's manipulative and when people have affected who you are at your core, the whole idea of who you are, who yourself is very scary. So you feel like you're kind of getting to know yourself for the first time. So I sometimes can't tell the difference between performance Alia and the real me. So that's something that I'm working on.
Thank you for sharing.
Your turn.
Can I be honest? I was listening, but I was also worrying about what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So I wasn't exactly as present as I would have liked to been, because I don't do things on the fly well.
That's totally fine with me.
So in the spirit of authenticity, I like that I've done work. The only way that I've done that is I've been in therapy for a very long time with different therapists throughout my life. I have a really great one right now. I've been with her for about almost 3 years. She's amazing. Shout out if you're listening. She's probably not going to listen. She's not going to listen to my podcast. Anyway, she's excited about my podcast, but she's not going to listen to my podcast. Anyway, I feel like, especially because I used to kind of say, and I would kind of preface it with, because I'm a social worker, I was a therapist before, I would say, therapists need to be in therapy. But the reality is, I really benefit from it, and I was receiving support even before I became a social worker. So in order for me to kind of stay sane in my line of work and in my own personal life, to kind of having worked things out from my past, I think therapy is amazing. And I go, and I love it. And I think everyone should find a therapist.
Everybody! Does that happen to you now all the time? Every time somebody tells me something, I'm like, you know who would be really good at helping you with that? A therapist.
Yes.
And trying not to solve other people's problems, but...
Because I'm really good at trying to solve people's problems in the past. I remember in my early 20s, I had some friends who I really felt like were projects of mine. And I was really good at are you okay? And in the meantime, I wasn't, but as much as I'd like to have been. But I think, I just think it's important to find someone outside of our personal life that can kind of give us the answer that we want. Yeah. For someone to be like, here's a mirror, take a look at this. I want to support you. Yeah. So I receive a lot of validation and affirmation, and also kind of have to step up and do some work. So there's my moment of authenticity.
There's your moment. That was awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard. Afterwards, you're like, okay, we'll see.
We'll see how this goes.
You gotta let that sit for a little bit. And why I want to do that on the fly. Sorry, I ambushed you.
It's fine.
Is because I really thought, if we're gonna talk about from a point of experience, if we're gonna talk about a subject, we should.
I love it.
Probably do a little bit of it.
High five.
High five.
Can you hear that? Maybe this microphone is too nice to hear a high five. We just high fived that.
So, how does your water's in the way? Oh gosh.
Trying to protect your table.
Yeah, you're amazing. How has hardship in life changed what authenticity means?
So, a little, 2.5 years ago, I went through something that was really difficult. People in my life know, and it was just hard to, while I was going through stuff, to be real with people. And I think before I had spent so much time, again, trying to look like I had it together, and I'm really good at looking like I have it together, and I'm good about doing the work, but I think I was really honest with people. It just kind of came out like a floodgate just opened, and I was like, hey, this is my life. And I think that that experience made me realize I couldn't hold stuff in as much with the people that I knew I could trust, but I hadn't trusted. And when I found out that I could trust them, when I shared, they were like, hey, you're still worthy of love. Yeah. All those things that that you've dealt with, I'm sorry that you had to deal with them alone. And so I feel like that experience made me just be real with people, and gave me an opportunity to what Brene Brown calls wholehearted living. Because ever since then, there's been times of difficulty still, but kind of just figuring out, this is who I am. I'm going to be real with people, and just unashamedly, without shame, showing up and being like, this is who I am, and really leaning in and trusting. Because that is one of the hardest things, is you just feel like you're exposed. I just felt like I was exposed, here I am, and they're like, hey, thanks for sharing. So my relationships, my friendships have become more real and special to me, where I really am wholeheartedly living in them instead of just trying to look like I have it together and stuffing things down. So I think without that experience, I think we learn from everything. I wish it hadn't happened, but I do know that from there I've grown. So that is cool to see from the backside of it, hindsight, to say, if I hadn't gone through that, I may not have become the person that I am, who can really enter into my friendships and be present in them and be real. And then people can be real with me.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you spend less time worrying about how everybody sees you, you actually get to know other people a lot better. I feel like everything I went through afterwards, like I mentioned before, I was so open and I was just telling everybody my story, and then I kind of overdid. I overshared, and then I kind of had to pull back a little bit and I think maturely decide who was ready to hear some of the more intense things about me. And the hard part is I was going through it at the time. Sometimes while you're healing from it and you're reeling from things that have happened in your life and you're learning, you're sharing, but it's like real time.
Yeah.
But then as you get away from it, which is where I am now, I'm like, 7-8 years down the road, I've gotten away from it enough, and I know enough people now where I could literally never talk about it again.
Right.
Because I could completely disassociate from the fact that it even happened. And it feels like I want to do that sometimes because I don't want to be that. I don't even want to be known as the person who went through that, because it changed the way people see me. I just want to kind of make up a new story. But the whole point of this is that when I went through that and I came out of it, the real true beauty of it all was the redemptive factor of Christ and what he did for me, and that he came in and healed me. And people will still say about me today, like when I tell them my story, like, wow, you just don't seem like you've been through all that. And I don't really get a lot of credit because yes, I'm I can tend to be a little performing, like I mentioned, but really that's Christ in my life. That's Jesus. He came in and he healed so many parts of me, and I was able to I'm able to have healthy relationships. He brought people in my life, I know you as well, where they walked me through some of the most difficult times. And I think what I really learned through it all is that I need people. And I don't like that, because I would love to do it by myself and then use people for the tidbits of my life that I need. But he's really shown me that I really need people, and relationships are really significant and important. And we can't walk through this by ourselves. We don't get to do this alone. And it's not meant for us to do it alone either. No. Part of the genius of it all is that we become in relationship with people. And, I'm learning that that's what conflict's about. It's about fixing and growing closer. You'd never grow if you don't have conflict. So amazing that it all kind of comes back to relationship.
Community. We need each other. And God restores our joy when we go through these hard things. And absolutely, he's brought really great people into our lives that encourage us. And that's the best part of it all, is how we get to enter into these relationships. So I wholeheartedly agree. I'm going to keep using that word because it makes me feel good when I say it. Yes. No, that's awesome. Yes. So why aren't we more authentic with people? We talk about how on the backside of things, it makes us feel really great because we see the growth, we feel the community. Why aren't we more authentic with people?
I think that, like you said before, authenticity, it takes a lot of emotional energy. It really does. Opening up and sharing, being real on the front end, it takes a lot of energy, whereas this kind of fake personality we can put on that's really easy and get busy with it. And I think that's like, okay, you go through something really big, you get past it, you heal, you have your moment, and then life kind of starts to become rhythmic, and you can almost get lost in this monotony of like just trying to obtain things. Like, hey, we can afford more things. Oh, hey, we can, I have nicer clothes. Oh, hey, and you assemble these things in your life. And the hard part is that you really don't know until the end that they're all empty.
Yep.
But in the moment, you think, great, got people, now I need to keep them. I need to be attractive on the outside. Really, yeah, right.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
for sure.
we do. We all want to feel attractive. We all want to feel like we have these other reasons why people around us were interesting.
Successful. Have good things going on.
Right. We have stories. We have things. Like, we think it's all this common. Well, it's not always all those things. You know, I'm not friends with you because of the successes in your life.
No.
I'm friends, you know, with you because when we really get down to it, I could talk to you about just about anything, and you would be completely attentive to me, and you would engage with me, and there's really no off topic for you. There's nothing I'm afraid to bring up with you, and that's,
I'm glad.
Yeah, I really feel that way.
Because I feel like, what would I not want to share with you? Because I still feel like there's those times of fear. Like, I used to think, again, like I was a private person, but I think some of that is just me protecting myself.
Yeah.
So I think, if this person knew this thing, would they still feel the same way about me? So that's why I don't share as much as or at least takes me a long time to do that, which is, I think we do at our own pace. But I worry about what people think of me. I didn't think I would feel that way, but then I look at it and I realize that at the core, it's me trying to be perfect so people like me. And I've realized in the last year or so, as I've done this whole self-love journey business more, I'm still a work in progress, by the way. This is not me seeming like I'm perfect. But in this journey that I'm on, I realize that people actually want to be around me. Like, it still kind of surprises me. I'm like, oh, you like me. Like, you like me and you like me. And you. Yeah. But I still realize each person, I think I've trusted more with things, so I know they're trustworthy enough to go there. And I do feel that way about you as well, Alia. That I do. That I think that... Yeah, I just think that it's hard to know, again, going back to the, how do we know we can trust that person? So we share a little bit over time, but I think when we see that person hasn't left, and not that we're trying to, like, do the whole push away, don't abandon me, because I've done that before, but I think once we're just real with each other, I think that's where we see that we really are in a sense of community with people and that we can be honest. So... It's hard to do, but it's worth it.
It really is.
It is.
And the real relationships that you get from testing those waters and the real relationships you get from doing that, they're a lifetime. What is that noise?
That's awful.
Someone is going by in a scooter.
Oh, no, it's a car.
Wow.
They need to go to the shop. That was awful.
That is a horrible noise.
They can hear it. This is too good of a microphone. There was a screeching noise.
We'll see. So this is what I want to do with our last few minutes.
Tell me.
I want to challenge our listeners to do something authentic. Share something that you normally wouldn't share with somebody in your life. Whether that's someone you're already close to, like a spouse, a friend, or do something that is revealing. Because really, that's what authenticity is it's something. It's revealing to who you are really, not the prim, proper outside, but the real you. And then tell us what happened.
I love it.
Comment and tell us what happened. I mean, really take a chance and share something. And then we would love to hear from you. I think that as we do this process, our favorite part has been engaging with others. And it's you can message us on our page. So all the different places you can hear us. Let's start it.
Well, you could post it too if you felt like being to dare great. Can we talk about how much we love Brene Brown?
Oh, okay. Go ahead. You do it.
Okay.
Take a moment.
So hold on. Let me pause for a minute. So Brene Brown, if you haven't heard her, we really like her, and that's like our guest goal for one day to I don't know if she'd be on our show. We really want to meet her. Alia's feeding her child right now, so she'd be saying, Okay, there she is. But her books, her TED Talks, it's like she talks about shame and vulnerability, and she has this book called Daring Greatly. Go read it, listen to it, read it, borrow it. If I have it, if you want to find me and get the copy, I'm sure Leah has awesome things to say about it as well.
Mine's on audiobook, so you can't have it.
She can't. You can have it. But the idea of daring greatly. So us deciding, you guys as listeners deciding what you're comfortable sharing. If it's something that you feel inspired by and you just feel like other people would just be encouraged by it, share it publicly. And share it. You can also message us. But Alia, where are we now with our podcast? Where can people find us?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. I'm so excited. Okay, first of all, we're on YouTube. That's where our main page is. We're on Facebook. That's where you can like our page. You can see updates. Subscribe on YouTube, but like our page on Facebook. And then we are also on Breaker. Don't know what that is, but it's a thing.
Breaker.
You really wanted to do that ever since I told you about Breaker, didn't you? We're on Google Podcasts.
Okay, yeah.
My husband knows what that is. We're on Radio Public.
Love it.
And then we're also on Spotify.
What up?
And we have like 8 views. So, we are also on iTunes. We just started on iTunes. I got the email this morning that we got accepted.
I did know. I'm just saying, what? Does that make it sound cool?
What? So I haven't really... I think we're just like really in the beginning stages of this, putting this together. I will say though that we love your feedback because, we love it and we like what we're doing, but tell us if you like what we're doing. Be nice at first because we're beginners. But, tell us if you want to hear about certain topics, if there's certain things that you'd love us to touch on, if, there's certain things you would love us to do. We're here to serve you and be a part of that conversation. So don't be afraid to reach out and then share our page. Share it with somebody
Sharing is caring.
Who would totally understand and would love this conversation and, start like a little authenticity movement and share it with a friend who you think you might want to talk a little deeper with and see what they think. Test the waters. And then ask them what they think and then share something really vulnerable about yourself and, really challenge yourself to be who you are and not be afraid of people not loving you because of what you share.
You're lovable. You are worthy of being known. I think all of us are. I would like to give a shout out to Alia.
Shout out to me?
I'm giving you a shout out. I've already done this like 3 times. I like to affirm people, so I've already affirmed her like 3 times.
Being affirmed.
But publicly, she's done a lot of work in getting our podcast up on Spotify and iTunes. This is her ministry in a sense of what she's doing. She is an awesome mom and involved in different things, but this is her thing, and I'm just so glad to be partnering with you, and I'm excited to continue this. So thank you for making this possible online. So find us, like us, listen to us, share it, live authentically with us.
I love that.
We don't know what we're doing next, so we'll say next time on episode 3. ...
We'll say something.
We'll say something awesome, and even if it's not awesome, we'll be authentic with it. So
awesome. Nova, you want to send us out?
She's trying to say something.
Thank you for listening to 30 Wordy and Friendship. This has been Alia Bogdanoff
and Whitney Ensom.
Have a great day.